Welcome to Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. My name is Billy Alvaro, aka the Unstoppable VA, former billion-dollar mortgage banker gone bankrupt turned professional real estate investor, where each week you'll learn the tools, strategies, systems, and secrets myself and other highly successful real estate investing entrepreneurs use to start, grow, and scale their businesses, creating massive profits, and how you can too. And we'll teach you how to put those profits to work so you no longer have to. Get ready to finally experience financial freedom and generational wealth. Now let's get started. What is going on, everybody? Back with another episode of Unstoppable REI Wealth. I'm your host, Billy Alvaro, and I'm going to be bringing the heat today because the gentleman I have on, I met him probably within the last maybe 4 years, maybe 5 years. And went to an event on syndications, how to raise money and grow your wealth. Because look, it's not all about just flipping and wholesaling. It's about putting your money to work so you no longer have to. And when I was there, I ran into this young stud. He started to educate me on what his business does and how he could allow us as real estate investors to put our money to work in a, I guess it's like a non-traditional manner to take your retirement funds and grow it almost tax-free. So with any further ado, I want to introduce Damion Lupo from EQRP. Damion, welcome to the show, bro.
Billy, it's great to be here, man. It's good to see you. I'm excited to dive in and bring the heat to everybody.
I know you're going to because you are a wealth of information. So let's get into what your business actually is and what it isn't, because I want to speak about that.
Yeah, I mean, and you know this from your experience over the last 5 years and working with these things. We give people the ability to take their retirement money and invest in real estate. That's what most people do. They're investing in crypto and gold and all sorts of stuff. Basically, we're untapping and untrapping all this money that's in IRAs and 401ks to invest in assets that are outside of Wall Street. And that's what we give people the chance to do with their own money. And we also help people to go help their friends invest in their deals by tapping into their retirement money too. And there's different ways of doing it. That's our business. That's what we do. It's breaking shackles, breaking the financial shackles of people.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm telling you, like, I'm talking from a client. I've been with you now for 5 years, I think 5 or 6 years. Whenever I met you, I joined right up after that. And I had my money with another self-directed IRA custodian. And once you and I met and I watched your presentation, we sat down afterwards and I picked your brain. I'm like, yo, if your system could actually do what you say it can do, I want to put it to work. Like, let's go into let's go into first the traditional IRA, then let's look at the self-directed general custodians that are out there, and then your product and how it's different from the other two.
Yeah. So typically what happens is people have 401ks from an employer, or maybe they're with the federal government and they have a thrift savings plan. They've got some type of system where they put money in, employer matches it. They've got some money in this thing. It's tax deferred. They leave the job and they say, okay, now what do I do? And that usually ends up going into an IRA. So then a lot of times people have mutual funds and they think that's it. Well, then people started finding out you could do something called a self-directed IRA, and people got excited about that. Hey, I can direct my own stocks. I might be able to do some other stuff. And they started realizing, hey, I can do like maybe some real estate or some other stuff in this self-directed IRA. But what people didn't realize when they started doing that is there were all these different consequences. One, you have a custodian that gets in the way of everything you're doing. And that's a problem. And then when people started doing real estate, they didn't realize this until it was too late, but there are some huge taxes that are involved if you do real estate using a self-directed IRA. So that became a huge problem. And then even recently, like 6-8 weeks ago in the fall of 2021, the US tax court came down and said checkbook IRAs, which is like the ultimate in self-directed IRAs, those are illegal now. So all of a sudden IRAs don't look very good, even self-directed IRAs. And
Wow.
and yeah, it's what we created years ago was the EQRP, which is fundamentally different because it's a different part of the tax code. It's not an IRA. It allows you to have control. You don't pay those taxes when you invest in real estate. This works. It's evolved to where it works with employees, up to 50 employees, full-time, part-time. Like none of the other stuff, even solo 401ks that a lot of people started using, can't do what this does. This gives you control, and it gives you the ability to invest in all the stuff out there that makes people rich, not just makes them beholden to Wall Street.
So you said a lot. I want to reverse back because I know some of our listeners like, what? I mean, I don't get it. What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
So let's first look at a traditional, not a self-directed IRA. What does it actually mean? Like, let's go into it so people understand what that actually means.
So self-directed IRA means that you've got the ability to choose things. Typically, there's two types of self-directed IRA. One that's with a brokerage company, like maybe a Schwab or Fidelity. You can pick what stocks or mutual funds you want. And then there's another one where other companies that are out there, you get to self-direct it into things beyond just the stocks. And what that means is that you find something you want to invest in, and you go to the custodian and you say, I want to invest in this, and they look at it and they review it, and then they charge you some fees to move your money into that thing, and then you get to invest there. So you're kind of in control, but you don't really command the account. And so that's what the IRA industry is. It's either one where you're just doing mutual funds, or you can do some other stuff, but some of that other stuff just got really wonky because of the tax ruling in November of 21.
Yeah, the tax ruling in November, and I was with a self-directed IRA custodian where I didn't have a checkbook, but I had to go to them for everything. And I got to tell you, there was a lot of red tape. If I had a property I wanted to buy and invest in, it took 4 to 5 days, fill it out, send it over. Did you get the paperwork? Oh, you missed something. It was good in one regards because that's all I knew. And I'm like, wow, this is better than just put my money into a regular IRA that's going to go into mutual funds. But once I heard your presentation and I started realizing the power that the EQRP offers, I was like, I honestly, I thought you were bullshit. Like, I thought this is too good to be true. There's no way this guy's company and product could do what he says it could do, but it does. And it could really create some serious wealth if you use it the right way.
It's interesting because whether it's live or whether it's face to face in a seminar, or whether it's online or even people hear from a friend, typically the response is, that's got to be bullshit. What am I missing? This is too good to be true. And people realize, wow, you know what? The only reason that I haven't heard about this is because the Wall Street machine and the IRA machine is so big. We're talking trillions of dollars. That's all the marketing that they've done. So it takes being out there and being on, listening to your program and being around people that are thinking differently to really learn how the rich are getting richer. I mean, there's Peter Thiel has a $5 billion Roth account. Did he do that by investing in stocks in the S&P 500? I don't think so. He did things alternative, and you got to be willing to think alternatively. And that's what we did, is create a tool that allows you to act alternatively.
So let's go into what the EQRP actually is, because I know it's a form of a self-directed, but it's not a checkbook self-directed. Let's go into exactly what it is.
So so self-directed means you get to control. And so there's self-directed IRAs, there's self-directed 401ks. This is a type of self-directed 401k that gives you the ability to invest. You have a checkbook. You legally have a checkbook. Can't legally do that anymore with an IRA. It was literally against it. It was made. So if you happen to have a checkbook IRA, which some of you guys do, that account is now technically illegal, which means if and when you get audited, and by the way, the IRS is hiring 87,000 new agents to audit, and they're doing AI auditing. When you get audited, they're going to disqualify the thing. And the people that got hammered in the tax court had to pay a $250,000 tax and penalty fee out of nowhere because they were using a checkbook IRA. So the self-directed just gives you different levels of control. Like in your case, you went and said, hey, can you please do this? They in 4 or 5 days, they would tell you yes or no. In that, the difference between a self-directed IRA that takes 4 or 5 days, and that's fast, by the way, a lot of times it takes weeks. With Schwab, their form says, we'll let you know if we approve this within 4 to 5 weeks, not days.
Yeah,
with an EQRP, and it is crazy. It's with an EQRP, it's 4 to 5 minutes because that's how long it takes for you to fill out most forms and then submit the wire. So the difference here is you actually have control and command of your money and what happens because you sign. You're the trustee. You're in charge. There's no custodian. There's you. There's us backing you up for compliance. But the difference is it's true control. And that's where people they almost think this has got to be illegal because how could it be that I could have control? I've been told my whole life somebody else that's smarter, that has credentials, has to be in control. The reality is they just don't want you to know that you have the ability and legal authority to be in control. And that's what the EQRP gives you.
Yeah, it does. I can attest. I've been doing it for years. And even the accountants, CPAs, CFO that I brought in, they're like, never heard of it. I got to do some research to check this thing out. And once they check it out, they realize, like, I get it. This is a pretty cool vehicle to grow your wealth. One of the disadvantages from having a traditional 401k or IRA is the amount of money that you could put in on an annualized basis, right? So let's talk about traditionally versus if you're self-employed, you maximize how much you could actually put in to yours on an annualized basis.
So what people have seen traditionally is the traditional IRA. You can put $6,000. If you're over 50, you can put 7. And that's interesting, but it's basically a blip. You think about 20 years, you put the max in, you're not going to be rich, you're going to be old. So it doesn't really help most people. You have to do something. You have to do something different, and that different when you've got the EQRP, it's 10 times more. It's 61,000 you can put in per person per year. If you're over 50, it's another 6,500 bucks. But you think about this, if it's you or maybe you and a spouse or something, that's 122,000 bucks you can put money in for kids. I mean, what a lot of people are starting to do is they're paying their kids 12,500, and all that money gets to go into their EQRP for the kids. So what happens there? Why are they doing that? I mean, they get the tax deduction. So that's less income tax. Usually it's 3 or 4,000 that they save, and their kids get that income tax free, so they can put it into a Roth EQRP, which is after tax and grows for life. So all of a sudden you start looking at these, and I just threw a bunch of numbers, but the big picture, the thing to take away is an IRA is like nothing. It's a few $1,000s. It doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Whereas with an EQRP, you can actually do some serious damage to your financial freedom goals putting all this money in, and it can be all Roth, and there's no income limits. Something really important as you're making more income. And I mean, you're the $1 billion mortgage broker. You know what it's like to make big dollars. And when you start making big dollars, you start disqualifying from even being able to do IRAs and Roth IRAs.
Yep.
No limits with EQRPs. Absolutely no limits.
Yeah, so I want the listeners to really get a grasp of what you just said, because this is where the wealth is created. This is how you take yourself and separate from where you are. Even if you're grinding your 9 to 5, or you're starting into your own business and you're a real estate investor and you're starting to do a few deals, if you're smart with how you put that money to work, and this vehicle can get you there a lot faster, you could put in, I thought it was 53, but it's $61,000 a year. And if you're over 50, you said?
Yeah, if you're over 50, it's another 6,500 per year.
That is insane. So let's talk about this now. You can take 50 to 61 to 67, $68,000 a year tax free, right? Get a tax write off on your or off your taxes, or pay tax and put it in as a Roth and have it grow tax free down the road. So either or, depending on what you want to do. I'd personally want to put it in as a Roth, let that baby grow tax free.
Yep.
What now can you do with that money? What can you invest in, and what is the process to invest?
So what's funny is that the IRS says here are the 5 or 6 things you can't do, and everything else is game on. So what you've heard your whole life is here are the mutual funds you can have that you can invest in, the S&P 500 or bonds or something. The reality is you can invest in real estate. It could be apartments, it could be land, it could be Costa Rican rainforest, it could be physical gold and silver that you take possession of. It can be Bitcoin, Ethereum, private notes. Like
Wait, you can put money into Bitcoin, Ethereum?
you can any type of crypto you can buy, and you take possession of it.
Insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you said something that I think is really important to emphasize and say again. You would personally want to do Roth. Well, think about what's happened with Bitcoin. It's gone up 170% per year for the last 12 years. So you think about that. Why would you want to invest $10,000 in something that was going to turn into 10 million and pay taxes? You wouldn't. So how do you do that? You invest with Roth money, and in the crypto space, you have exponential growth. Same with leveraged real estate. So why would you ever want to grow something 10 or 100 times and then pay taxes? You just use a Roth account, and you can do that with an EQRP and never pay taxes. That's kind of amazing.
It's brilliant. It's actually brilliant. Let's talk about the real estate game. Self-dealing. Could I invest money from my EQRP into real estate properties, buy and hold properties that are in my personal name or my corporation name?
So you can't self-deal, and what self-dealing means is that if you've got a property already, you can't take your retirement money and invest it, and you can't sell yourself a property. What you can do is you can take your retirement account and go find a property and buy the property that you don't already own. So you've got that option. You can also, and so I mean, you find an apartment or something, you take out an option. Your retirement account takes out an option on a piece of property for $1,000, turn the 1,000 into 100,000. I mean, I've done that. I know lots of people that have done that, and all of a sudden you've 100x your money in a year. That's very doable if you're aggressive and you're out there doing. I mean, if you're in active investors are the ones that make the money. When you're super passive and well, it's like I say this: if you're going to be super passive, good luck on that with everything, including sex. Like your spouse is going to leave you. So you got to get active. Like get it on, man. Game on. Let's go. So you've got an opportunity with real estate, especially to do some incredibly leveraged growth, and you absolutely want to look at doing that with Roth, because then you're paying no taxes for life plus 10 years after you die.
Insane. I want you to walk the listeners through how you could take an option on a property through your system and legally pay no tax on it.
So I'll give you an example of when I first started. I did real estate in the very beginning, and a friend of mine came to me and said, "Hey, you want to be a partner?" And I said, why would I be your partner? I have no money, no skills, no nothing. Like, what good am I? And he goes, "You got a credit card." So I took out $6,000 off my credit card. So that's what I started with. That was my real estate start, turned into 150 houses. Let's say you put $6,000 into your Roth account, and it's sitting there, and you're like, well, that's not very much. Okay, so you go find a property and you give somebody $5,000 or $6,000 as option money, and you say, look, I need 6 months, and I want to. Here's my purchase price, and then you go find somebody and you hustle and you go find somebody that wants to buy that thing at a higher price, at $50,000 more than your option price. You then sell your option. That $5,000 you paid turns into $50,000. You just 10x'd in 6 months. I mean, you can do that over and over again. So it doesn't take money. It takes brain power. It takes
Yeah.
hustle. It takes work and energy. And when you do that, you realize that money, you can make up whatever wealth you want. You just have to be willing to do the work.
You have to know the secrets. You have to be willing to do the work. You have to leverage the systems that are out there to your advantage. And I can attest again, man. This isn't me giving a testimonial, but I guess it is. Like, I've used your system. I know it works. I'm utilizing it in apartment deals. I'm utilizing it in old age homes. Like, the program works if you use it the right way. And what are the 5 things that you can't invest in? I know there's everything out there, but just talk about the 5 you can't.
Yeah, typically, so the big ones are collectibles and stuff that you're going to use. So you can't invest in rugs or wine. I mean, obviously with wine, if the IRS said you could invest in wine, everybody'd be hungover and broke when they retired. So that doesn't work. So that those are the collectibles. You can't flip cars. You can't do things if you like a piece of property but you want to use it today. You can't do that. That's personal use. And then there are certain people you can't invest with. You can't invest with a spouse or your children or your parents, but you could invest with siblings or cousins, people that are sideways on the family tree. So it's a really small list. There are certain things like gold coins from 1920 you cannot invest in, but you can invest in all the bullion you want, which is modern gold or bars or silver. So it's a very, very small list of things. If you look at the list, and people can get a copy of the book for the QRP book that I wrote, and you look at the list in there and you go, this is a giant list of things I can do. Why didn't anybody tell me? And it's called AUM. It's called Wall Street wants to have your money and charge you a 1 or 2 or 3% fee every year. So they're not going to tell you you can go invest in an apartment. You got to find it out on Unstoppable Real Estate Wealth.
I appreciate that, brother. It's true, though. I mean, look, these loopholes are out there, and it's how the wealthy get wealthier. And if you know how to put your money to work, and you know the legal ways, the legal process to do it, you can become unstoppable, create your wealth, and get to a different level. Do you see people utilizing this in like Airbnbs, where they buy an Airbnb with their down payment money?
Yeah, any type of real estate that you're doing, whether it's daily rentals or monthly rentals, anything like that. And I happen to think that Airbnb, these short-term vacation rentals, are one of the most lucrative. It's not just my opinion. I mean, you see the numbers; they're super lucrative. So it's another great opportunity to really juice your returns with your retirement account. Pay no taxes ever. And one of the things people say is, "Well, I don't want to invest in real estate inside of a retirement account because I want the depreciation." And I go, yeah, but here's the problem. If you're buying a property and then you're going to sell it in 5 years, you're going to get all that depreciation recaptured. So like you want to protect yourself from the 5-year event, because otherwise you're a heroin addict. You're just getting a big depreciation, feel good today, and then you get to pay it back with a hangover in 5 years or withdrawals.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tools that you can utilize for different things. You want to make sure you're thinking through the big picture, not just what happens this month, because things will bite you in the butt 5 years if you're not planning for it.
Yeah, that's smart, dude. That's really smart. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, I get the depreciation. I made, $2 million this year, paid no taxes, but in 5 years, when you flip that building, you're gonna recapture all that shit right back on your tax return.
Yeah, and one of the other big mistakes that people make in addition to that is that they go, okay, well that's one thing. All right, well I'll just use my IRA. And I go, no, no, no. The IRA is the other problem. If you're buying real estate with an IRA and you got debt on it, you're going to be paying 37% tax on most of the profit when you sell it. So give you an example, people go buy into an apartment, they take 100,000, make it 200,000, whether you did it with other people or not. But let's say you used your IRA to buy real estate. If that 100,000 doubles, you're going to pay about $25,000 in taxes if you used an IRA. You know how much you pay with an EQRP? Zero, because it's exempt. So you have to get better information. Otherwise, you get killed with all these rules and all these taxes.
It's insane. It's insane. So I know you wrote a book. What's the book called?
The QRP book, just updated 2022 edition, all the current numbers, all the current laws, including the law that just happened 8 weeks ago. Like, we keep our information very fresh.
Yeah, it's up to date for sure. And so if somebody wanted to open up one of these accounts, what do they do?
So they reach out. We have a strategy session to make sure it's a good fit, make sure that they're the right type of person. So it's not for everybody, and so that's really the process. It's an education process. We're primarily an education company, and so we'll figure that out. We're going to give people a chance to get a copy of the book. You get the book, and you spend the time. We spend a half an hour talking through the options and your situation, because it's very personal. This is not a one size fits all. Like, a lot of places, I think, in general, will try to sell one thing to everybody. And hey, look, if you're a nail, they're a hammer. Like, that's just how they look at the world.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna figure out if this is a good fit. Once it is, we take people through the process of building their plan, getting all their money rolled over. We're on the phone for hours with the Fidelities of the world, getting the money untrapped and unshackled. The Edward Jones kind of companies that don't want to let go because they think you're too stupid to have your money. We make sure the money gets out of their hands and into your hands. And once you have it, you've got a checkbook, truly a checkbook, where you can write that check or wire whenever you want. It takes you 5 minutes to fund a deal, and your life changes because you're in control.
That is the bottom line with that. And you have to make sure, once you do get involved with this, that you bring in your CPA and if you have a CFO, have them get involved early in the process to understand what this product really is. Because a lot of people just don't get it. They don't know because they were never educated on it. And so that education process really needs to go not just with yourself, but with whoever is on your team that's going to be involved on your finance piece. It's good stuff.
And there's something that people oftentimes miss, because it's almost subtle. And even you had mentioned this, because it's relatively new. If you're sitting there going, well, you know what? I've heard about a lot of different things, and I don't qualify because I have employees. There's a safe harbor EQRP that allows you up to 50 employees to be able to do this, where you, as the owner, and all the employees have control of the money, mutual funds, real estate, crypto, Bitcoin, whatever you want. And this is the difference. Like, when you look at all the stuff out there in the retirement world, people say, well, everything is the same thing. They're all IRAs. They're all 401ks. They're truly not. The EQRP is the only dynamic, flexible tool that gives you power and control regardless of your environment. So you want to educate yourself, dig into this thing, make sure that you actually understand what the differences are versus somebody's marketing.
Yeah, I'm going to have your link on my page, billysecrets.com, about your EQRP, your book, everything. Like, look, again, I went through this 5.5 or 6 years ago, and it's you have to really digest it. You got to take it in. You have to really understand what you're getting yourself into. And if you really do want to grow your wealth and start putting, first of all, a lot of money away on an annualized basis, and then start taking that money and put it to work, it's a no-brainer, man. Like, it's similar but completely different from a 401k or a self-directed IRA. It's similar but different.
I love that. It's got things that rhyme, but it's not the same thing. It's kind of like people say, well, everything is the same. I'm like, have you ever looked at a Ford and a Ferrari? I know there's a movie about this, Ford versus Ferrari, but truly, a Ford Taurus is not a Ferrari 550. Like, I know I had both of these. These were like a couple of my first cars when I was crazy in my 20s. I bought the Ferrari. I'm like, this is definitely not the Taurus I had 5 years ago. So, like, they're very different, even though they both have 4 wheels. So make sure you understand what's under the hood.
Yeah, good point, brother. Good point. Anything else you want to add about this program or the book?
I think people need to realize that this is a rapidly evolving space, that Congress is trying to attack wealth because they're broke, and all they know how to spend, they know how to inflate with the Federal Reserve. And people, you have to get ahead of this. If you just follow the masses are going to go off a cliff. And so you want to make sure that you're being a part of our tribe. You're gonna be at the forefront. You're gonna know what's going on. We're gonna give you lots of tools. We're gonna help you build your network, and it's really going to empower you, because I don't believe that anybody's going to ever care more about your money than you will. And so we want to make sure you have the right tools and the right people and the right ideas to be able to run with, so that you can truly be financially free. So that's our job, to help you and be part of that team.
Is it expensive to utilize your system?
Well, I'll tell you what's expensive is taxes. And so the average person spends until it's September. There's this idea that, hey, you know what, April 15th or May 1st, that's when we start earning money for ourselves, because it's actually not. 70% of our wealth goes to taxes. That's how much we pay to the different governments every year. And so, is it expensive? I don't know. Going to zero tax is pretty freaking smart, and it's a lot more expensive to pay taxes. So this is one of those things where you have to decide, do I want to spend a few $1,000s today, or do I want to spend $3 million down the road on taxes? It's really your choice.
Yeah, I could answer. It's not expensive at all. It's actually a very small investment compared to what you're getting. and it really will set you on the path to financial freedom for sure. 100%, dude. I honestly, I told you, I said it before, when I first heard you speak about this, I thought you were full of shit. I had to really do my research and dig in, gave it to a bunch of smart people. They all came back and said, look, 2 thumbs up. This is a very creative, not skirting the law, working within the confines of it, how the tax road was written. And it's a brilliant freaking idea. How the hell did you come up with this?
I just saw, honestly, I saw a lot of people that were stuck, and they were just like, I saw both my parents retiring broke, basically playing the Wall Street game. And I realized something was different that was going on. And then a friend of mine years ago said, hey, wanted to buy some silver. And I had a precious metals company. He goes, I want to use my retirement account to buy some silver from me. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I didn't even know you could do this. So I spent a couple of years researching and then wrote the book with the tax attorney so that we could clarify the ideas and bring those to people, and then realized that this was a huge gap in the market and it really needed to be shared. And we're fighting a lot of Wall Street machines. And so that's why, I mean, it came to being because there's a problem, and that's what entrepreneurs do. We can't help it. We've got to go fix problems we see, and you create businesses out of them.
Yeah. And you create a lot of businesses, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, listen, bro, really good having you on. Good seeing you again. It's been quite a long time. I know we chat back and forth on text, but haven't seen your face in quite some time, bro. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you too. Thanks again for having me, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
How can people find you online before we leave?
Yeah, EQRP.co is where you find me, and that's basically where I live. The community is there, and if you want to try to, you want to chat with me directly, hey, LinkedIn is where you can hit me. That's where I'll respond. It's kind of hard. There's so many options nowadays, but
it's all over the place.
It's crazy, but I'm always happy to hear from people.
Awesome, Damion. Good having you on, brother. Good seeing you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Billy.